What is up, guys? It's your boy James, aka Triple J 755 here, and today is a very special day. Wait, I kind of say that with like every day, but this is an extra special day. Today, my main flagship park in Roller Coaster Tycoon 2 turns 5 years old. Woo! I've never had a park last that long. Usually that's when I would get a new computer. Although this park you're about to see survived 4 different computers. Thanks a lot, Dell. I remember I got OpenRCT 2 for the first time on Friday the 13th, April of 2018. And one of the very first things I wanted to do was remake a park that I had in the regular RCT 2 with a whole bunch of rides. I still have that file somewhere. But for now, I want to show you Triple J World again, including a very special 5th anniversary roller coaster that I've been planning for months. It's going to be great! Oh wow, this Thunder Rock looks pretty cool, I must say. Let's go! Hold up! This isn't a Six Flags park! Get that out of here! Don't worry, it's not broken, it just takes a while to load. There we go. Triple J World! Ooh, it's a big park. I did a tour of this 2 years ago, but in case you're new, or you didn't see the video, or you forgot, or you didn't see some of the new rides I built, well, let's take a look. Here is the parking lot, and right here, that is one of those drop-off places where a bus can drop you off or a parent can come pick you up after the end of the day. Eventually, I'm going to make it even bigger by expanding the map this way. I can expand the map this way and this way. I can't expand the other way though, but that's where I I could really use a map expansion. Hopefully that will be available in another update of OpenRCT 2. And the main building, I built it 5 years ago, and I thought once about redoing it, but then I decided, no. A lot of the stuff here is actually quite old. Like, usually, a file doesn't last as long. But here we go. I did used to have a monorail here. But James, there's a monorail track right there! Are you stupid idiot? Yes, I am very stupid idiot, but that's not the reason why. It used to have one of those long streamline trains. But then I thought, what if you and a bunch of buddies could grab your own monorail train and just chill while going to the other side of the park? Well, here we go. There used to be trees here, if I remember correctly. But then I thought, oh, well, I could use a monorail track here. I could increase visibility by getting rid of the trees, and also you can see the ground from the monorail track. That's pretty cool. Here's the main gift shop. You go there to collect your gift. Save us all the trouble finding you. You can collect your gift there. And a bunch of buildings here, which I was one of the first things I built. And of course you get swamps at the main entrance and the Marigold 755. It used to be like around here somewhere, but I moved it for the hotel. I remember I had this plot vacant for like 2 years because I wasn't sure how to build a hotel, and then it's just a rectangle box-like thing. Whatever. I'm not going there, so I don't care. And right here is the road to get there. It was quite weird trying to get the path over there, but eventually I did, and if you use cutaway view right here, I made a whole parking lot. And hotel guests get exclusive early hours to the park. I used to have a park entrance somewhere over here, but then guests got really confused trying to get into the park, so I decided to scrap that idea. We'll start with going left. This right here is one of 2 models of like the Junior Coaster, but I made it like in this kind of format. It's called Beach Coaster. It's quite an old one in the timeline of the TJBC universe. It's supposed to kind of look like a wooden coaster by the beach, but also it's a steel coaster, so it's smooth, and hopefully that's a good transition coaster to more thrilling rides. It's also one of the few 5-year-old coasters that remains, and I don't plan on taking it out anytime soon because I can't think of much to replace it. And here is the park floorless coaster, Beach Blazer. It's another 5-year-old ride, but it looks kind of different from how it did when I first built it. It used to have a cobra roll right where this ride is, we'll talk about it later, goes into the force a bit. And my favorite part here is the corkscrews going over the island.
Actually, it's not an island. As you can see here, this bit of land here connects to the mainland right here. It's not an island, idiot.
Wow! And think a Reddit user provided a link to download RCT3 songs in RCT2. Thank you, u/a Cano Beans. There's a monorail stop here. And right here, this used to be the station for one of those dingy slides, but instead got completely used for coaster with really bad breath. One reason why it's called that, and the reason why it's called that is because of this particular shape right here. And one of my favorite things to look at is when this train is going up the lift hole right here. Another train should appear on this loop. Woo! And here is the Pirates Cove section of the park. You can also get on the Sky Ride. I remember once giving a tour when I said this was a new part of the park. It's actually quite old. Someday I might make another track here, but for now it has the Jungle Racers pre-built car ride. And the reason why I didn't make a custom one, yeah, I was lazy at the time. And there's a nice bay over here, and the main attraction here is a big wooden coaster called the Arg-80. And of course I'll have the statistics in the top left as I talk about the rides. We'll go here next. Here is, of course, a drunken sailor. It's not a Triple J Parks Company establishment without a drunken sailor. And over here is the very first ride, coaster or otherwise, I ever built for this park. The Comet. I named the Comet in reference of two coasters of the same name at Hershey Park and at Waldameer Park, both in Pennsylvania. This, though, is kind of a CCI. It starts with a drop and then a standard turnaround over here, but over here it gets a little bit twisty. I like it. It will stay for as long as the park exists. It's guaranteed not tear downable, I promise. And in here is Drink Stall 2. Yes, that's very important. Everyone likes Drink Stall 2, don't they? Here is the Pittsburgh driving experience, of course. In fact, this area here is kind of themed to a city. Right here is the first non-coaster ride in the park, Root Beer Rapids. At the time, I was really into root beer. Still kind of am. You can get quite a good view of it from your hotel room if you're over there. Right here's one of those pendulum rides. It's called
This Could Be Bad,
in reference to the YTP I made of Derek back in May. Oh yeah, and I also got a swing ride over here. The Swing Gang! This right here is called It's the Truck. It's the Truck! Which is kind of a joke that Derek and I made during our trips together in the summer of 2022. And whenever we see a truck, we always say, oh look, there's the truck. Look at it go. For being a mini steel coaster from Roller Coaster Tycoon 1, it's quite wild. I always love building with it. It kind of looks 90s and cool. And over here, you can get on the train over here. This right here is the most ridden ride in the park's history. Grand Theft Parking. It's kind of like Grand Theft Auto, but for parking. It's a dive coaster, one of the first made by the company that it's built by. And you go through buildings and on top of buildings around this stadium, and there's a loop going around the train track. If I were to rebuild this, it would definitely look better. Since I can use the tools used by OpenRCT2, I'm more of an expert on it now. But I plan to keep it as is. It's a classic ride. I love the helix going over here, and I squeeze in a shop area in there between the cliff and the train track. I always give like one name to the train per year. Right now it's called the Flying Chicken Strips! And right here is our big RMC coaster. When I did the tour 2 years ago, I just used a twister coaster track with the wooden coaster trains. But then I figured out how to make it an actual RMC shortly afterwards, actually. It also has a big inversion here. It doesn't look like one of those zero-G stalls, but I just did the best I could. And it has a big hills over here. It's called Champion the Bull. It's a slight reference to Thomas the Tank Engine from the episode Bullseyes, which I made a YTP out of. Technically 2 because I redid it. And speaking of Thomas the Tank Engine, here comes the brand new kids area. It looks wonderful now. Its shape actually coincidentally looks very similar to the island of Sodor. You can see a nice little river when you're on this roller coaster, which is called the You Better Run, which is a reference to Tongo's song called Humped Up Kicks, which is a parody of the song by Foster the People. Very classic wooden style roller coaster.
What do you mean it's a wooden style roller coaster? It's like George Carlin said, anytime someone uses the word style, someone is pulling your prick. Either it is a wooden coaster or it isn't. You stupid idiot.
From the 70s, it's also an Ace landmark. But over here, it's brand new. This is supposed to look like Knapford Station. And there are 2 rides here. A transport ride and roller coaster. The transport ride is called Thomas's Branch Line, and you can use it to get to the other side of the area. I was originally going to do that with this roller coaster. In fact, that's a second plan of a transport ride roller coaster I had. The other one being, like, over here, there's going to be an LIM launch coaster that'll bring you to where this ride is now. But that never came to fruition. One plan I had for this park is that it was kind of like going to be like my dream park where there are no limits to my imagination, although now it's developed into more of a realistic sort of park. But this ride is still a lot of fun. It's called the Special Express. Look at that. All these turns, and it also goes through Henry's Tunnel. And there's another launch pad over here. You can also see the area from above with Harold the Helicopter. Here's a standard swing ride over here. This slide is supposed to look like Cranky the Crane. And another car ride called Horrid Lorry. And there's a kids pirate ship ride called The Lost Ship, which is a slight reference to Sodor's Legend of Lost Treasure. And this right here is kind of like a successor for a coaster that used to be over here called Trees in Trouble with James, although with the rebranding I had to get rid of it. This is one of the park originals from 2018, but unfortunately I had to remove it. But here it comes back, better than ever. It's also called Trees and the Trouble with James, named after one of my favorite YouTube poops by the YouTuber Thomas 1 Ever 2 Henry 3. The original episode name is called James and the Trouble with Trees, but he reversed it, and Dirk and I always found it funny. Look at that. It's supposed to be a Vekoma Junior coaster. And of course, there's Miss Kindly's Carousel. 2 rides next to each other are both named after things that happened in Season 5. Oh wait, there's another Season 5 thing, Horrid Lorry. Season 5 of that show must have been really good. Alright, going over here, there's kind of a plaza thing. I originally thought about making the hotel here, but instead, I built an Aero 4D coaster, Snowed Under, themed to the snowstorm. It was quite difficult to make. Over here, another park original is Blizzard Mountain. A couple months before I made this park, I went to Blizzard Beach at Disney World in Florida. To this day, it's my favorite water park of all time, and that was a big inspiration for this. It was just quite interesting. So you go up here, there's a castle on the top, a pretty drop over the river, and then a big drop down. Wow! And of course, you can see the train over here, and there's also a log flume called Triple J Arctic Lumber Company. And over here, there's a monorail station, and previously, the biggest ride in this park called the Freaking Heck 420, or its official name is Freaking Heck 420 Quest on the Trail. I added that to integrate it more with the new Camp Triple J section of the park, which used to be called Very Scary Rides. The Freaking Heck 420 is 420 feet tall in the air, and I recently used invisible paths to hide some of its supports to give it a more B&M Giga-like structure, even though it's a B&M Strat, including this support over here that you can see on rides like Leviathan at Canada's Wonderland, in its place used to be a steel coaster. It was the Giga Coaster model, right here. It was also red, and it was called the Heck. But for some reason, after a couple months of popularity, I think because the long ride length, guests didn't want to re-ride, so it wasn't popular. So in 2019, I decided to redo it, and well, it's not very popular now. Whenever I close a park, then reopen it, there are guests pouring into the queue line here. A lot of capacity too. That could be part of why there's not much wait time, because you can always get immediately on. Look how long the trains. I didn't want to make the trains that long, but in order to make these big hills, that was the shortest train that had enough momentum to go over. It's an absolute masterpiece. You could see a very beautiful bend of the Freaky Egg 420, which kind of reminds me of Candymonium and Hershey Park. Wow. And there's another connection here to the city area. And you can see the comet. And here comes Camp Triple J. This ride right here is also a 2018 original called Omemumu Shindeyo Nonyi, which is a joke that was popular a long time ago. This ride, I hate to do this, but I wanted to expand Camp Triple J more to this area, make it a little bit prettier. And this ride is kind of in the way. I do want to relocate to another Triple J park, of course, so don't worry. At least for now. And also kayaks here. Capsizing drills. Dirk and I did the kayaking merit badge together in the Boy Scouts a couple years ago. And one thing we kind of enjoyed doing was capsizing our kayak and then getting back into them. That was quite interesting. And of course, a bunch of things here. What did I name this enterprise? Look! I see your mom! Yeah, I forgot that I named this. Right, so you might remember my Hershey Park video with me, Derek, and Kaylin. Well, us three, back in 2017, we were in a car together on the way to a camp for the Boy Scouts. You can see why all these are in Camp Triple J. And Kaylin thought he saw Pac-Man in the stars on the sky when we were on I-66 in Virginia, and we were like, why are you seeing so many Pac-Mans? And then we point out many other things that we pretend to see. Look, I see your mom. Look, I see Donald Trump. That was one of my favorite car rides in the world. This is called Corbin Fire. This exact top spin used to be over here. It used to be called Closed for Legal Gambling, but is relocated to another part of the park to be called Corbin Fire. Corbin was a guy who was the senior patrol leader for a year in the Boy Scouts. And he made really big fires. He was a great fire guy. And here there's a wooden coaster. It kind of reminds me of Invader at Busch Gardens, Williamsburg. It's called and here's a upcharge attraction, one of the slingshot rides called Wiggle. Oh, Acid Sounds, one of the newer music. This is a go-karts ride. I might redo it eventually, just to make it more compact and see what kind of scenery I can do with it later. This is the very Wild West section of the park, although sometimes I thought about renaming it to West of Loathing because there are many references to that game in here. This is an Intamin Blitz coaster called the Man-Eating Worm with at least 3 different launch sections. 1, 2, 3. That must mean there's a lot of block zones too. And even goes to Camp Triple J section. It could have worked well here, but it replaced a ride called Yellow Spotted Lizard, which uses stations, so I just thought that was the perfect place to put it. Right, goes around this pretty cool mountain over here, as well as this B&M invert coaster that made like in 2019 called the Fricker Gang, in reference to the Fricker Gang from the game West of Loathing, one of the first interesting groups you encounter. This is Rainer Stable, a reference to the game Turmoil. And this is my first ever attempt at RMC Raptor Coaster. It's a custom design. It's a single rail roller coaster, and I call it Cow Puncher. I even made the station look like a barn. But since the trains are only one person across, I had to be very careful, so I had to add a lot of block zones. A block zone is section right, but only one train may occupy at a time. At the end of a block zone is a method stop train because the block zone has to occupy. This is a safety system that prevents all trains from colliding with one another. So what I did here is I added a block break just before the chain lift, because usually a train would have I have to completely clear the chain lift launch system in order for this train to dispatch. But actually, as you can see here, this train is leaving, and then by the time it gets to here, this train will have left the lift hill. And there are also not one, but two mid-course brake runs, and two trains can fit on the final brake run. So if one train takes longer than usual to dispatch here, and a train behind it stops here, and there's still one more to come over here, so no one has to wait at the mid-course brake run. It also has some very interesting elements. I don't know what to call this one. It's kind of like a Cobra roll, but on crack. There's also zero-G roll, and the first vertical loop on RMC Coaster, and an Immelman corkscrew. And over here, right here, it's called Ultimate Mountain, and you can get to the top of it in 3 ways. Either by going on this car ride, Ultimate Mountain Adventure, which is a monster trucks ride, or on the first turnaround of Freaking Heck 420, or on the park's Giga Coaster called Haunted Coaster. And what's amazing about this roller coaster, and I really wish it existed in real life, is that it has a 311-foot drop in total darkness. And there's another really big tunnel that starts here, and I don't even know where it ends. Over here? That's a long-ass tunnel. And over here, this didn't used to have a park. However, there's a new roller coaster, the first relocated coaster in Triple J World's history. It's called Snake Oiler, one of the careers you can pick in West of Loathing. You might recognize this as the Rattlesnake pre-designed ride, although with some modifications, like I had another block zone over here. This used to be at Standing in a Field Park, so if you watch How to Play Roller Coaster Tycoon 2, you know that added this coaster there. However, the story goes, it was moved from there to a place called Minecraft World, which was a park in Florida, because Standing in a Field needed more space for other development, and it was kind of in the way of things. So it was at Minecraft World, but then when the TJPC ended their contract with Minecraft, we are currently retheming the park to another game, and in the process, we moved this. It used to be called Swamptown Minecraft World, and moved it here and called it Snake Oiler. Sure, it was very popular when it was first made, and I made some pretty good theming in the queue. Is there any part I didn't show you? Oh, I saved this part for last. I already showed you Champion the Bull, and here is the Lost Village section of the park. This Zamperla family gravity coaster is called Sheep Chase. This mine train coaster is called Explosions! It's actually a mini mine train. There are 2 mine trains in the park. You might recognize this as where the coaster crashed at the beginning of How to Play Roller Coaster Tycoon 2 Part 1. And it's a coincidence that it's called Explosions! I didn't plan for the coaster to crash on another coaster called Explosions. It just happened that way. Or did it? And here is a Vekoma suspended coaster. You're underneath the track, but you also swing left and right with the force of the ride. It's called The Raiders Are Coming. The story is, the raiders go up the hill, grab their buddies at the post, and then run through the village, and they pillage everything, and they take everything, and the villagers scream. It's kind of fun. It takes a station that used to be part of a bobsled coaster called Summer Sledding, but was eventually moved to make room for this ride. You can also get the monorail here in the same station as the Raiders Are Coming. It's kind of a modern looking building, which doesn't work well with the sort of old village theme I was working for, but I'm not ready yet, so I don't care. And over here, since I did the last tour of this park, I redid the scenery for this ride. Hold on, I'm trying to do... I don't like how I have to choose vegetation and scenery separately. Oh yeah, and we also get a frick ton of rewards. Look at that! This ride here is a big ride. It has 2 lift hills. It used to be called Idle Miner Tycoon, although to fit in with the theme of the Lost Village, I instead called it Danger Cavern. Idle Miner Tycoon back in 2018 was a mobile game that I saw Tall Fishman from Reaction Time play with his friends back in 2018, so I named the ride that. Remember, this file was made in 2018, And this is a 2018 original. It does take a lot of park space, but it's worth it because, yeah, it's nice here, but if you want to break from some noise, you could ride this ride and go through some waterfalls and forest and wow. And you can see a pit over here from a new ride. We almost had to ask Vekoma to move some track, but the people who made this building figure out a way to not have to make that happen. Why? Because this is our new for 2023 ride to mark the 5th anniversary of this park. Here's what happens. You enter the ride here, there's a launch pad here, goes around here. And then what's interesting about this launch track is that it's in the same position as the reverse freefall coaster you used to take called This Is America. And it's in the same colors, just going the opposite direction. How about that? I didn't even try to make it that way. These dueling coasters go up 355 feet in the air, then go all around the park with more launch pads and even better, block zones. And eventually make it all the way over here with the ride ending with this final break ground over here. Or so we've been told. Nope, there's a whole underground section over here, and eventually you make it back at about the same time. The whole ride collection is called Here It Comes, which is a reference to my series called How to Play Minecraft 1.18. Okay, Joe, this plan worked before. Just follow through now, and we'll ask questions later, okay? I will let the creeper explode, which will kill it, taking it out of the equation, and release you from your cage. Sure, okay, I see them explode all the time. I can handle this. Okay, here it comes. The sides are named after the nicknames of the two idiots that founded the city of Sployne, which is where I go to university. I'm a senior at University of Sployne. I'm majoring in accounting, as I probably told you. Their names were Stupid Idiot and Dumbass Idiot. And Derek and I thought that was really funny, and so I named the tracks Stupid and Dumbass. The dumbass side is more exciting side. The stupid side is more intense, but they're both very exciting and very intense. Here comes a part of the video I've been wanting to do for months. You might remember when I was designing the block break over here, when I was talking about block zones for How to Play Roller Coaster Tycoon 2 Part 2, right over here. Yes, I was working on the ride even back then, because this is such a special occasion. 5 years. I mean, it didn't take 5 years just to get to this point. I always took a break for like half a year or so. It only takes like a couple months, or if you're a Roller Coaster Tycoon enthusiast like me, it only takes a few weeks to fill up this park. But I always constantly try to improve it from start to finish, and that's what's special about Triple J World versus my other parks. As much as I like them, I always just build them and then leave. It's just done. I might redo it again later, but it's kind of done for a point. Triple J World will never be redone from scratch, but the rides are always coming and going to make it the best park it could be. And so, I press vegetation. No, I press pass. Scenery. There we go. One thing I love doing is when I open up a coaster, the guests kind of engage in like running of the bulls to get over here. So, let's do that. This is a pay for rides park, so what's the ring? 2.58. So it's not a pay for rides park in real life, but paying per ride is more sustainable in this game because the guests give you more money, and so yeah. I'll guess summarize. Actions. VN51 heading for the dumbass side of Here It Comes. Who's heading for the stupid side? Doesn't say, but look at the line already. Reward for being the park with the most confusing layout. Fuck you! It's not that confusing. Are your guests on the ride? Doesn't seem like it, but not for long. And there's always another train right behind it, ready to go. great dispatches, I must say. With every coaster I make, it becomes more and more realistic, of course. Oh yeah, you can kind of see that guests are heading this way. Wow. Look at that. All the way over here, guests are coming. Alright, let's look at the first public trains, of Here It Comes. Here's a window for both the dumbass and stupid side. There's so many people wanting to get on that there's not enough space in the queue line for them. Wow. Well, I think I'll take care of that off camera. So, yeah, this has been Triple J World. It's somewhere in Maryland, and in the future, I really want to expand the Camp Triple J World section over here and then make the terrain around Freak Fortania and the dumbass side of Here It Comes a little bit nicer. Hopefully there'll be an update so I can expand all parts of the map. Like, let me show you. The map can go this way, but not the other way. There's no way to do that. Hopefully that'll be fixed in the future. There are a couple of things I want to do. I also kind of want to redo the jungle theme section of the park. I'll keep this, of course, but I might do something else over here. Maybe not a roller coaster, but something. The reason why this plot of land is longer than the actual coaster here is because this used to be a SNS air launch coaster that took up a lot more space. Just hoping there's something else I could do with that space here and maybe here. And that seems to be about it for future plans. Maybe expand the snow theme section back here. And yeah, this has been Triple J World. You gotta be cool.